This committee as a whole, Human Resources and Education, will now open. Ms. Campbell, would you please take the roll?
Mr. Green. Here. Mrs. Heinz. Mr. Derman. Here. Mr. Loop. Mr. Harrell. Mr. Nation. Mrs. Richardson. Here. Mr. Winkler.
Here.
Mr. Betancourt.
Here.
Mrs. Lamy. Mr. Hersey.
Here.
Mr. Bro.
Here.
Mr. Kuzan. Here. Mrs. Page.
Here.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. At this time, we'll have the invocation and the pledge. If you would please stand, Ms. Page will lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
Let us pray. Lord, I am so thankful for all the wonderful, beautiful, talented students that we have with us tonight. Lord, I pray you continue to bless them and keep them safe. I pray you be with our board with all the decisions that we have to make this evening. We ask all these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any board members who would like to recognize visitors tonight? Okay, none seen. 5-minute comments. We have no one signed up. We do have one person signed up for 3 minutes. Trish Craddock, would you please come up and state your address for the record?
My address is 57227 Pace Street in Slidell. Good evening, Superintendent Jabbia, members of the board. I am Trish Craddock, the interim president of the St. Tammany Federation. With the increase across the state of COVID-19, many of our employees and students are having to quarantine. Many of these same employees have been quarantined more than once. This results in instructional days lost for those who are the victims of the virus and the CDC guidelines. The CARES Act allowed 10 COVID days for employees to use if they contracted the virus or had to be quarantined. However, we know the CARES Act expired on December 31st, which means that any employee who's affected by the virus will have to use their own sick days. This may lead to many exhausting all of their accumulated days and having zero pay. On December 21st, Congress approved a $900 billion pandemic emergency response bill called the Response and Relief Act. This bill provides $82 billion for K-12 schools to be distributed with some important modifications through the 3 education emergency programs that were established by the CARES Act back in March. Louisiana is set to receive a little more than $1.1 billion, which is about 3 to 4 times more money than we received in March. Approximately $800 million will be divvied up among the 70 public school districts, charters, and private schools. This money to all the states will come in later this month, which means that St. Tammany will shortly know the exact amount of relief money they will receive. I gave you it looks big, but the original document is over 5,000 pages, the law. So I want to give you a snapshot of some funding that we believe could be used to fund those additional 10 days for every employee. The Coronavirus Relief Fund extension for states where governors elected to use a portion of the CARES Act for education. The deadline for spending down funds through the CRF has been extended through December 31st of this year. The Paid Sick and Family Leave extension. The Response and Relief Act extends the refundable payroll tax credits for paid sick and family leave enacted earlier this year through the end of March. Another possible revenue would be that on January 19th, Bessie's meeting, the MFP task force, and the Revenue Estimating Committee for the state will also be meeting. In closing, the Federation is respectfully requesting that an additional 10 COVID days be given to those employees who may be infected by the virus after December 31st. The Federation thanks Superintendent Jabbia for rolling over the COVID days for employees who did not use them. However, this board and this administration could provide another layer of protection for every employee by granting this request. If granted, it will be a welcome display for all of you and how much you care for your employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Craddock. At this time, we'll approve the minutes for the committee as a whole meeting on December 3rd, 2020. Do I have a motion? Mr. Derman's motions. I have a second. Mr. Kuzan has a second. Any questions from the board or any comments from the public? If no, everyone please vote. We have everybody up, Ms. Campbell? Has everybody voted? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to human resources. Mr. Peter Jabbia he'll discuss class size report. Mr. Jabbia?
Thank you, Mr. Winkler. Good evening, board members, members of the audience. Each year, I do a report to the board on the class size. Just as a reminder, there are some maximum class sizes as provided by the state, which says in kindergarten through third grade, no more than 24, and in grades 4 through 12, no more than 33. I'm happy to report to you that we don't exceed any of those numbers. In fact, we're a lot less. So I also wanted to let the board know and members of the public know that when we do this pupil-teacher ratio, it is a true ratio, a true class size of the classroom teacher. It does not include librarians, guidance counselors, itinerant teachers of any type. So we're talking about just the teachers of record in those schools. These are the class sizes. The report was posted on board docs for you. As you can see, this is not a typical year with the COVID year, that our numbers are a lot less than what they normally are, with class size ranging in kindergarten from 15.7 up to, in our 6th through 12th ratio of 18.4. In prior years, those numbers hover around 17, 18, 19 in grades K through 3, and they use a range anywhere from 20 to about 25 in grades 6 through 12, and 4th and 5th also. So that's the report. Again, if you have any questions, I'll certainly be happy to try to answer those.
Any questions from the board?
Yes.
Mr. Broad?
The report reports average class sizes, but we know that some teachers may teach 5 in class and others may hit a maximum. The maximum by state, do we have any teachers that have more than the maximum that said 24, more than a maximum of 24 in a classroom?
No more maximum of 24 from K through 3, and the maximum for 4 through 12 is 33, and we have no one exceeding the maximum in those grade levels.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Betancourt?
Thank you, Mr. Winkler. Mr. Jabbia, what about the virtual school?
I don't have that's not class size, that's more of a caseload. I don't have those numbers, Mr. Betancourt. I'm sorry.
All right.
We should be in compliance, I think, though, with all the state regulations with the virtual school and caseload. I don't have those numbers. I just did the actual, since there's no classes for virtual school, it's basically how many students you have and then not a particular class. So I only took the typical brick and mortar schools, K through 12.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, Mr. Jebb, you want to move on to the exit interview report?
I will. Thank you very much. Each year I do prepare a report on teachers that are leaving the system, not those that are retiring, but those that are are resigning, and for whatever reason, the document that was posted on Board Docs for you is a document that we use. It's also a document used by the State Department of Education. Each year, we go into a portal at the end of the school year, and we input our numbers, and it produces a report. And basically, the report is what you have that's posted on Board Docs that said, and it's voluntary and they don't have to sign it. So we don't get everybody turning in one of these. There were 139 resignations, and we mailed every one of those a questionnaire. We only received back 44 of those, which is about 31.7%. Just so that you know, for comparison purposes, this is about the percentage that we get each year. Last year, we had 42 out of 140, and it was about a 30% return. The employee states reasons of why they're leaving. You can see that up at the top of the page. You see that most of them are either personal or because they were moving. Some other ones have different reasons. But the overall positive responses were 369 to a total of 16 negative responses. And then we also have just some comments that we put in there that we received just for your information. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any comments from the board on that? Oh, Ms. Page.
Yeah, Mr. Jerby, I just have a quick question. I know you said that the surveys are all mailed out. Is there any way that we could they could do it on the computer? We might just have a higher return rate. Just a thought. Is that something that could be done or possibly?
I'm sure we can certainly look into it.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
was thinking, that's just what I thought when I read over it for the first time.
We'd have to get an alternate email address since they're no longer employees.
Right.
So, but other than that, yeah, we can certainly look into that.
Okay.
Okay, sure will.
Any other comments? Okay, let's move on to the resignation report. Mr. Jebbia.
Okay, so part of those numbers that you saw there is coming from this resignation report. And I do a 5-year running total where you can see what's going on for the last 5 years. As you can see, the past 3 years have been really consistent. A few years ago, we had a spike in resignations, and that came about when the new evaluation system came out from the State Department. And I think a lot of employees, a lot of teachers who were of retirement age did not want to go through all of that, so they resigned. But since that time, it has really evened out over the years. So you see, it's averaging, it's in the close to the 140s every year. That's the extent of the report. I'll
Any
answer
questions on the resignation report? Mr. Bro.
Yes, it'd be very much better if we could see percentages. You have like 8 from a high school. Well, 8 out of how many? That's probably a typical number. I noticed high schools are 6 to 8. And then there's one, Harrison Curriculum Center, which seems to consistently have very high turnover, 53 people in the last 5 years. What is the percentage of that? And is there any study on why it's such a high turnover, or perhaps you know that already? But looking at the numbers, you don't know, like one school may only have 30 people and 4 people turning over out of 30 is significant. Whereas if it's 300 and 4 people turn over, that's a good number. So percentages would be desirable here so that we could see, or just give a total number. If you had this many resignations, out of how many? The other question is, does it include just teachers or healthcare workers and just teachers?
Just teachers, yes, sir.
Okay.
Just teachers. Or let me put those positions that require a teaching certificate.
Okay.
Okay, so it could be a guidance counselor, librarian.
So any idea why the Harrison Curriculum Center has such a very high turnover?
That's a large number of employees. that are based
Again,
there.
percentage,
Percentage-wise,
I don't
yeah.
know what the percentages will
Yeah,
be.
and you'll notice that 139 is reflective in the report that I just gave you on the exit interviews. That's those same 139 people and the reasons they left. So the exit interview report
It's supposed to tell you why.
is the tally of why they left, those same 139 people. We certainly can include a column, the last column over to the right that will show you a percentage though, for the next time around.
Okay.
Okay?
And then possibly look at any of the surveys that are specific to Harrison Curriculum Center to see if there are negatives in there that would cause the high turnover. If
Okay.
they're all moving, that's fine, but I just,
Again, remember that the exit interview report included every one of those 139.
yeah, but they're not specific to the school. I'm just saying that if you see something with a very high turnover rate, then you can look at the exit reports for that school and try to possibly draw conclusions.
I understand what you're saying. I was just
Okay.
trying to point out that 18 moving, 24 personal. The only 2 was because of salary. So the reasons are moving and personal. What those personal issues may be don't always tell us what they're doing, but certainly we can look at it and see.
All right,
Be glad
thank you.
to.
Isn't that the special ed? Because this is where we have special ed. Isn't that where all the special ed, most of the special ed people at Harrison Curriculum? It's a center, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you
It's
say,
not a
when you
school.
say special ed, I mean, it's your speech therapists, your psychologists, your social workers, and we have a lot of people based at Harrison.
Well, that's what I'm
Curriculum
saying. It's not a school, though.
Center. No, it's not a school,
Okay,
but it's a
thank you.
site. It's a site. It's one of our sites.
Any further questions? With no more questions, we'll move on to instruction. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Essay and Poster Contest. Ms. Dangerfield, here you are. And just let you know, we're going to take a break. We're going to do essays first, correct?
Correct.
And then we'll, I think the people who have the winners of the posters are out in the atrium, and we'll swap. We'll take a break to swap. So if you would, Ms. Dangerfield, take it over.
Thank you. Superintendent Jabbia, Committee Chair Winkler, board members, staff, attendees, and most importantly, our student award winners. Each year in January, our school system and community leaders partner together to recognize and honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As a Baptist minister and civil rights activist during the 1950s and 1960s, he became the most visible spokesperson and leader of the civil rights movement until his assassination in 1968. Dr. King is known for many achievements, including his famous speeches, especially the I Have a Dream speech, peaceful marches and nonviolent protests, advances in civil rights for all people, famous quotes, helping others, and of course, the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. Dr. Martin Luther King Day, a federal holiday in the United States marking the birthday of Dr. King. It is observed on the third Monday of January each year and will be recognized this Monday, January the 18th. But tonight, we have come to recognize the student winners of our 2021 St. Tammany Parish Essay and Poster Contest. Our students were challenged to share their ideas on the theme. Dr. King once stated, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And for our lower grades, the theme was simply, what are you doing to help others? Entries were received. A group of judges made the selection for our first, second, and third place winners in grades K to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, and 9 to 12. Now we will begin with our essay winners, starting with grades K to 2. Beginning with our third place winner, Riley Parnell, Abney Elementary, second grade. If you'll come forward. Our second place winner is Aubrey Latchney, Madisonville Elementary, second grade. Loving the bow. And our first place winner said, I always respect my teacher and classmates. I make people smile by making homemade cards and giving them hugs. Dr. King was right. You should always do what's right, even when no one is watching. And that is Sean Johnson, Honey Island, second grade. Our 3 through 5 grade group. Our third grade, our third place winner, who is not here with us today, Sarah Silvi, virtual school, fourth grade. Our second place winner is not with us today, Cohen Guillory, Mandeville Middle School, fourth grade. But our first place winner says, some things I do to assist people and help them is to clean up a mishap, help them up, or simply tell them, got this. See, it's true. You can do more than you think. By doing these acts, you're not just helping others, you're helping yourself. And that comes from Benjamin Johnson, Lancaster, fifth grade. Grade 6 through 8. Our third place winner is not with us today. She's on a college tour. Zoe Derringer, Madisonville Junior High, 8th grade. Our second place winner, Fernanda Galen, Folsom Junior High, 8th grade. And our first place winner says, as a biracial child, I have endured judgment. I try to educate others about the importance of accepting everyone as they are and embracing other differences. I strive to be an ally for the disenfranchised, vulnerable, and oppressed. That's Taylor Morgan, Boyette Junior High, 7th grade. And last but definitely not least, our grades 9 through 12. Our second place winner is Mia Decker, Slidell High School, 10th grade. And our first place winner tells us Dr. King was trying to convey that there is beauty, success, and strength in society where people care for each other and take action to ensure the well being of their peers. If everyone just sat around in their own bubble of problems and never took a second to recognize conditions of the less fortunate, humanity would crumble in destruction. Everyone can help. A little goes a long way. And that's Mallory Edney, Mandeville High, 11th grade. Join me in congratulating all of our essay winners for this year's Dr. Martin Luther King Essay Contest. I would like to recognize all of the parents and guardians of the essay winners who are here with their students tonight. If you could stand and please be recognized. Of course, to our administrators and teachers, whether you're here or in the atrium, could you stand as well and be recognized? This concludes our presentation for our essay winners. And we're going to pause.
Yes, before we do, I would like to thank you, Ms. Dangerfield, for this presentation, and I'd like to congratulate the winners of the essay contest, and congratulations on these accomplishments. And I would like to ask the board if they had any comments. posters will come in. If we have no comments, I guess we'll take a break at this time. And then when we get the oh, Ms. Lamey's got a comment.
Want to say congratulations again to everyone. You had some great essays, but also to honor the teachers who were here tonight to support their students, both in class and at home. That speaks volumes. So thank you so much.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Good point about the teachers there. So we'll take a quick break and change off the contestants. And y'all have a good evening. Thank you for coming, parents and students. Okay, if we're all ready to go, I'll turn it back over to Ms. Dangerfield.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we would like to recognize the winners of the district poster contest. They are currently on display in the atrium if you have not had an opportunity to see them. These talented students were able to use their creativity and originality within the visual arts to bring Dr. King's message and our theme to life. We will begin with our K-2 student winners. Third place, we have Brianna Bodwin, 6th Ward Elementary, 2nd grade. Look how cute. Our second place winner is Lainey Jenkins, Fifth Ward Junior High, first grade. And our first place winner, Jackson Ulster, Madisonville Elementary, kindergarten. They are so little. Okay. Moving on to grades 3 to 5. Our third place winner, Sydney Mills, Honey Island Elementary, third grade. Our second place winner, Aralyn Plonka, Mandeville Middle, fifth grade. And our first place winner, Mackenzie Mosley, Chafuncta Middle, fifth grade. And she's representing with her Chafuncta mask. Okay, moving to our grades 6 to 8. Third place goes to a duo who worked on their poster together. They come to us from Lancaster Elementary. We have Cadence DeCharlo and Priska Lake, sixth graders. Thank you. Oh, that's how sweet. Our second place winner is Brady Batt, Madisonville Junior High, seventh grade. And our first place winner, Faith Hosey, Creekside Junior High, eighth grade. And moving, last but not least, our high school students. Third place goes to Corey Tony, Covington High School, ninth grade. Second place goes to Kayla Harris, Virtual School, ninth grade. And our first place winner, who could not be with us today, Logan Potter, Covington High, 11th grade. Join me once again in congratulating all of our poster winners. At this time, parents and guardians of tonight's poster winners, could you please stand to be recognized? And of course, our teachers and our administrators, whether you're here or in the atrium or in the walkway, if you could stand and be recognized. In closing, we would like to thank all of our schools, our students, and families for submitting entries to the contest. When students engage in conversations about helping others, we are all winners. Thank you, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Dangerfield. Any comments from the board? Okay, thanks again, Ms. Dangerfield, and congratulations to the winners and congratulations to the parents for having great kids there. It's good to see them here. And we're going to take another break to let you, if you want to go out in the lobby and take some pictures or whatever, and then we'll get started back up in a minute.
Thank you, everyone.
Ms. Strataberger, you're gonna do the whole thing? Okay. Turn it over to Mr. Carlo, our curriculum updates and curriculum and instructional team. She's the whole team tonight. Okay. So take it away, Mr. Carlo.
Okay, good evening, Chair Winkler, Superintendent Javier, board members, and guests. STPPS remains committed to providing for the health and safety of our students, staff, and families, addressing and closing the learning gap that occurred as a result of last year's interrupted school year, continuing learning experiences while in isolation or being quarantined, providing for the social and emotional needs of our students and staff, ensuring equitable access and opportunity for all students, and being flexible during these uncertain times. This presentation will focus on the efforts in supporting and assisting teachers in providing engaging learning experiences. We all know this has been a school year like no other. Teachers have risen to the enormous challenge of teaching and leading during a global pandemic. Teachers have responded with resilience, innovation, flexibility, and devotion to their students and careers. To support our teachers during this challenging time, our curriculum team, in collaboration with teachers, developed various supports, such as an effective lesson design, which was a lesson plan, professional development opportunities in using Chromebooks, Google Classroom, Google Meets, and other virtual professional development opportunities to enhance instruction and learning. In the pursuit of continuous improvement, the district curriculum team gathered feedback from our K-12 teachers through an anonymous survey regarding the previous mentioned supports and additional professional development needs. 1,506 teachers participated in the survey. We followed up the survey with learning walks to 12 selected schools. A total of 420 observations were conducted. 222 were done in the elementary grades and 198 observations conducted in the secondary grades. The information provided by both the surveys and learning walks will inform future professional development plans. The purpose of the K-12 teacher survey was to determine how we could better support teachers and students. We specifically sought feedback regarding the effective lesson design, which was posted within the district's Google Classrooms, and the specific professional development needs. The questions included in the survey are on this slide for your review. Our informal learning walks enable the district to gather information in a non-evaluative experience with the goal of supporting and assisting the teachers. We were eager to observe the implementation of the district supports, such as the content area curriculums, Chromebooks, as well as the effective lesson design. The 4 questions that guided the learning walks are included on this slide for your review. Each observer answered the 4 guiding questions, and additional content indicators were included during the observations. The ELA observations conducted further explored if the lesson involved complex text, who was doing the majority of speaking and thinking, and evidence of effective writing instruction. The results from the ELA observations revealed the following strengths, as well as future professional development suggestions to support the areas for growth. As you review these results, you'll notice that the writing revolution is mentioned in all areas on the slide. This approach to writing is in its first year of implementation across the district in grades 3 through 8. It provides strategies to students in advancing their thinking into writing. And we are very excited to offer more virtual and in-person training on this approach during the second semester of the school year. During the math observations, additional evidence gathered on which intended component of rigor was visible, as well as the use of manipulatives to support conceptual understanding. And were the students, when solving problems, communicating by using precise mathematical language to express reasoning? The math observations provided the following strengths and future professional development suggestions to support our areas of growth. We continue through our T1 vendors to provide relevant virtual professional development for our K-12 math teachers throughout this year. The science observations place additional focus on if the lesson addressed and/or reinforced phenomenon-based learning, the 5E instructional path, as well as the connection between the lesson and the overall unit goals. Here you can see the results from our science, our strengths, our areas for growth, as well as our future professional development suggestions. As a district, we will continue to focus on assisting science teachers with understanding the shifts in science and our students thinking scientifically. In the content area of social studies, the additional indicators included whether the lesson was inquiry-driven, who was doing the majority of the speaking and thinking, as well as engaging with a variety of primary and secondary sources. You can see on this slide the area for strengths, our results for areas for growth, as well as the suggestions for future professional development. Understanding the instructional pathway for social studies instruction is most important as to bring focus on the 3 shifts prescribed in the social studies standards. And our last area was the integration of technology observations. They further explored the alignment of the learning activities to the students being able to learn independently, demonstrate creativity, problem solve, and think critically. Again, you can see the results from our technology observations. It was very exciting to see how our teachers have embraced teaching and learning with Chromebooks. And the educators reported that engagement and motivation of students to get work done is higher than ever before. A multitude of challenges have extended beyond the classroom, both internally and externally for all stakeholders this school year. We have been able to create solutions and anticipate potential barriers because together we are STPPS. It is through all of the collective efforts that we will be able to continue to support students, parents, teachers, and each other during this time. And that does conclude our CNI presentation for tonight. And we do have curriculum supervisors available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carlo. Any questions from the board? Mr. Betancourt?
Thank you, Mr. Winkler. Ms. Amy,
Yes.
under the science segment, the suggestions for future professional development, I might have missed it. Would you decipher how the SCP and CC relate to the DCI?
Sure. So when the Louisiana state standards were revised in 2017, the SEP stands for Science and Engineering Practices.
Okay.
CC is for cross-cutting concepts. So that's the integration of all of the subject areas into science. And the DCI is disciplinary core ideas. So that's going to stand for what's the main theme, the main idea in science. So all on the Louisiana standards, those three types of information is placed on one standard.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Would you like me to tell you the 5 E's?
Mr. Derman?
It's deep.
Mr. Carlo, thank you very much. I guess my question stems from, the testing that we're going to be doing this spring. And if we've done any lead up testing, with our students and the change of the curriculum along with, the professional development that we've enacted, have we seen any kind of trending already? I guess is what my question would be.
We started the year and we did administer the LEAP 360, the diagnostic assessment. Right now, we are just now giving the ELA. So we're actually, for us, in our mid-year point. So after we finish with this ELA, and I want to say we have math, maybe 7th grade testing right now. So once we are able to compare that data, then I probably could answer that better for you. But right now, truly, I'm not able. What we did do, though, our scope and sequence is, St. Tammany scope and sequence is aligned. So that way, this particular standard that we do need to cover before spring testing is accomplished. We made those adjustments.
And I know the superintendent went out and met with all the different schools and different levels as well to try to make sure that we don't have gaps in our curriculum and to make it more fluid. And I applaud y'all for that effort in doing that. And I was just curious, I know everything's all messed up this year from last year to this year. God knows when it's going to get normal, if it ever does. But I was just curious if we could actually see any of the trending starting yet. So that was my question. I appreciate it.
We have not.
But we will see it certainly soon.
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
Ms. Lamy?
Thank you so much for that presentation. It was awesome. I have a couple questions. One, can you tell me when the survey and the learning walks took place approximately? Like, you don't have to give me a date, just a roundabout time.
I was going to say, we did all of the learning walks in December, and we did I left it at my seat. That's why I was turning around.
That's okay.
Was done in November.
Okay. And then Writing Revolution, I'm going to look at that. But do you know, why did we switch from right from the beginning? Was this just a better alignment?
It is, and Dora can
Just
probably
curious.
give you a
I-
little
I'm
bit
gonna
more
look it up. I was just,
information.
this is just the teacher
but
wanting to know.
For the use of guidebooks,
It just
provides,
flows better.
it flows,
Okay.
correct?
And then,
you can add
when,
some more.
with your learning walks, I
You
know you
can
did
add
it just
more
to
to
collect information, but like, what about, what were we gonna say? I'm sorry, Ms. Dorval, what were you gonna say?
You can answer, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
The way the ELA test is given
Mhm.
and the way it's tested is differently. Is different. It no longer aligns with right from the beginning.
Okay, that's what I figured, it's probably driven by the curriculum. And then I was gonna ask if you, when you did the learning walks, what if some classes were not where they should be based on the scope and sequence? Because as we know, it's hard to do that anyway, depending on your class, but with kids in and out and all those things, I mean, do you expect that, or do you really, are teachers really being pushed to stay where they're supposed to be type thing?
Because we did our learning walks, we did a modified version of what we would normally do
Okay.
instead of the quality assurance review
Okay.
visits that we normally do. So curriculum specialists were the observers.
Okay.
So they were able to provide that feedback to the principal on which which teachers were behind
Mhm.
and what were some of the lessons that they may be able to combine in order to get back
Right.
on track. So we actually left them with information
That's
to
good.
assist them.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Ms. Winkler,
Mr.
if
Daly.
you wouldn't mind me making just a couple points. First off, I just want to thank Mr. Carlo and CNI supervisors. I believe this is the first curriculum report we've given you in many months. For the first time, we've been able, with our CNI staff, to address you, not about COVID, but about what's actually going on in our classrooms. So I applaud all of our supervisors for the time and effort they put in to doing these. Like Mr. Carlo said, we're not able to do the quality assurance reviews that we normally do when we bring a team in and we completely observe the school, go in and out of classrooms, and then report back more informatively with the administration so that they can address some of the issues. This was strictly to gain as much information as we could so that we can support our teachers. So I just want to thank our supervisors for going in. I also want to thank our curriculum specialists and staff for putting the time in. We have a great relationship between our curriculum specialists and our teachers, and they're in place to support everyone. And that's what we're here for. We're here to give support. We're not here to judge. We're in unprecedented times. So I just want to applaud them for what they're doing. And like Mr. Carlo pointed out, we're not able to pull out. And that's what we're not able to do professional developments like we have in the past. We can't gather like we typically can and work with teachers that are having issues and addressing things in the manner that this staff has normally done that. So what we're having to do right now is what we call push in. We're having to push in supervisors and curriculum specialists to get in there and to work with the teachers and help them to address issues that they're seeing in the curriculum. Or as Mr. Dermott pointed out, with students that are behind. We've been testing and doing dibbles. We've been doing every possible thing we can do to gather information to see where we are. And we did see that our students started tremendously low compared to where they had after a normal summer break. So it has been a challenge for our teachers to bring our students back up. But I will applaud, as I went around to the 60 sites, 56 schools, the teachers are doing a tremendous job of pushing out as much information and getting our students back to a normal routine as much as possible. So I just want to thank them for that. And again, as Mr. Carlo reported, our supervisors and our curriculum specialists did the walkthroughs, and we're in the second semester are going to be spending more time on our campuses, dealing with principals, dealing with our teachers, and pushing in and giving as much support as we can. We're going to pull back as much from our curriculum specialists as we can so that we can get them freed up in order for them to get there and support the teachers. Because right now, that's all we can provide. That's all we can provide is push in services to our teachers, our paras, the people that are working with our actual students. So we're going to provide them every bit of support as we can. But Mr. Carlo, thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. I would like to add on to what Mr. Jabbia said about the teachers. If you think about it, almost every profession has gone to virtual jobs and they don't go in as much or at all. Teachers got to go in every day. They take temperatures when they get there, and they're there before the bell rings so that the kids can go straight to their classroom. They're standing in a room with children or teenagers of 25 kids. You don't know if any of them have the virus or not. And basically, when we have full rooms, you can't separate them enough so that, we're not having to quarantine anybody in front or back or side. So we're asking one of the few professions left to do this, to show up every day. And some teachers will have 100, like a high school teacher might have 100 and something kids every day. And your bus drivers, who the kids walk by them when they get on the bus, and the custodians and all the other school employees that we represent. But that is a very difficult thing that is starting to, I think, getting the teachers to a breaking point, because they've been doing this all year, and it's the number of cases is getting more. So I would like us to find some way, and I know, Mr. Jabbia has been going out and personally thanking them when he sees them, but these people who go and see these kids every morning, they go back to their families. They don't know if they're carrying it back to their families. And a lot of us can avoid that, but they can't. That is their job. And you're not prepared. When you go into teaching, they don't have a class on COVID. If you're a first responder, or if you're in the medical field, you're trained from the beginning to stay sterile. People go into the hospital, they've either been tested or they have COVID, and you know it. So they at least know. Our teachers don't know. Our bus drivers don't know who's got it and who doesn't. And when you find out, sometimes it's too late. And I don't know what our numbers are on the teachers, but I know the kids are growing from, I guess, the Christmas break. So we need to acknowledge them in some way as a group, as a board, because they are doing probably one of the hardest jobs there is right now. Because if you're working on a piece of machinery, you're not around a human maybe, or you don't have to be. They have to go and be around people all day. Bus drivers that's their job, and they love it. And that's why they're still doing it. But we need to do something to help them. So to add on to what Mr. Jabbia said, we don't even talk about them very much in our meetings. But without them, we wouldn't be here. So I do want to, this was my way of saying thank you to the teachers, and I hope we can do that as a group some way and somehow. I know we gave them a stipend, but giving them money is not going to help them if their kid gets sick or they get sick. So thank you very much for the presentation, Mr. Carlo. And with that, if there's no more questions, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you.